Hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Sarah Swisher, the Vice President of Talent and Workforce at the Toledo Chamber. I'm joined today with Matt Lout, Chair of Vistage. He's going to share a bit more about a program that we've partnered on together called Emerging Leader Program, powered by Vistage. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Good, Sarah. So nice to
Welcome.
join you.
Thanks for joining me virtually today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about Vistage.
Sure. Vistage is, if not the oldest, one of the oldest peer leadership functions in the country. And when I say peer leadership, it's designed to bring people together that are peers into a safe forum. It was started in 1957 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a very simple model of getting individuals, peers, out of their organizations for a day and having them focus on their leadership, their development, their professional development, which is ever so important in these days.
Absolutely. We all need to take time so that we can continue to grow and learn. So how long have you been a Vistage Chair, and what does that mean?
Yeah, so a Vistage Chair, the chair comes from the idea of chairing a board, a peer advisory board. So that's where the term chair comes from. You can maybe use another term that's probably maybe more familiar to most, be a facilitator. So I facilitate all the group meetings, and we'll talk more in a little bit about what a group meeting looks like. So that's my role, is really a professional facilitator to make sure it's a safe environment, that everyone's participating, that everyone has their opportunity to interject their perspectives, ask their questions, etc. I've been doing it since 2013 is when I started Vistage, and I have 8 groups currently in the Toledo and Northwest Ohio area, and a few of those are emerging leader groups with the Chamber.
Oh, that's great. Can you share a little bit more about the different groups that Vistage has, and then talk a little bit about this emerging leader program?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to put it in context is very important. This is not a pure model, but I think it's a good illustration for people to maybe understand where this emerging leader program fits in context to some of the other groups. So if you picture an org chart, each one of those sort of layers of the org chart, if you want to think of the classic chart from the top down, so that top position is usually the senior most leader of the company, whatever their title may be. It could be CEO, president, general manager, executive director, a variety of titles, but they're the senior most person responsible for the business or the business unit or the organization. And Vistage has a group type called a chief executive group. And again, that is bringing chief executives, the senior most leaders, out of their business for a day, a month, to work on their own personal and professional development. If we go down the org chart one level, that's referred to as a key executive group. So they're typically the individuals that report to the senior most person. And they, again, have a very similar program. They meet once a month for a day. And again, it's getting the foundation for all of these groups is a peer group. So that's a way of making the meeting safe, is that you're interacting with peers. The third level, if you want to think of this as a third level, is what Vistage calls Vistage Inside. And quite often that's a program that companies bring inside for let's say their managers, for lack of a better term, sort of a generic term. And then we get to the fourth level. And again, this is not pure for every organization. Some organizations may not even have a fourth level. Some organizations that are much, much larger have more than 4 levels. And this fourth conceptual level is called an emerging leader program. Usually it's the frontline manager, supervisor, team leader, or high potential employee that the organization has recognized has tremendous potential and a future with the organization. The emerging leader program, thus the term emerging leader, was formed to focus on that sort of cohort, or that focus group, to help people that are, generally speaking, earlier in their careers, to develop the soft skills needed to move forward in not only their own personal and professional growth, but also supporting the organization's growth.
Absolutely. And the Toledo Chamber and Epic Toledo has really worked to support that emerging leader group for 13 years now with our program Epic Toledo. And one of our pillars within Epic Toledo is really to provide that professional development and leadership development for those who are looking to excel in their careers and their work within the community. So this program really spoke to us and our core values. So it's on our end has been a phenomenal partnership so far and really helped us to be able to fulfill our mission of developing future leaders. So can you tell us a little bit more about the structure of a day in this program that an emerging leader can expect?
Yeah, to set the stage, the Emerging Leader Program, we recognize that all leaders are very busy, and this is something new, something in addition for these very busy emerging leaders. So the program format is every other month. So it's a day a month, every other month. So thinking about one day every other month, I'm not at work, I'm at this Vistage Emerging Leader Program, this Toledo Chamber Emerging Leader Program. So the day is kind of broken into two sections, the morning and the afternoon. We usually start somewhere around 8 or 8:30. We have a light breakfast, and then we start with what I call check-in. It's all the members of the group, cohort sometimes is the term I use, going around and reconnecting, connecting, and building those personal bonds with one another. That's what over time makes it more and more safe, more and more comfortable, more and more productive, not just in a Vistage group meeting, but in any team function. And then we start sometime around 8:45 to 9 with an expert speaker. We have an expert speaker at every meeting. And when I say an expert speaker, this is usually individuals that have devoted their careers or the majority of their careers to a specific topic. Mm-hmm. So let's pick a topic like emotional intelligence or self-awareness or executive presence. And I know working with you, Sarah, we try to bring in a very diverse set of speakers, but these are individuals that have quite the credentials, the resume to support the topic they're speaking on. Most have master's or PhD degrees in the topics. Many have written books, often multiple books, on the topics they present. And that's one of the cornerstones of Vistage, is growing ourselves through the experiences, the expertise of others. So sort of not recreating the wheel, and not learning at your own pace, but learning at an accelerated pace. So that's what the morning section is really, and Vistage uses the term workshop. It's not training, it's not a lecture, it's nothing like that. It's very interactive, very hands-on. And then we take time for a short break. The speaker usually stays with us for lunch and is able to have sort of casual conversation, follow-up conversation from the morning. And then after lunch, we go into a series of exercises of applying what we learned in the morning to our respective organizations and our roles within our organizations. And then we can share with one another the opportunities we see or the challenges we may face in trying to apply that learning, either individually within our immediate team or possibly within the larger portion of the organization that we come in contact with, or the participants come in contact with. And then one additional thing I'd add to it, that it's not in the meeting itself, but between the meetings, Vistage encourages a mentorship role. So we provide each participant in the Emerging Leader Program a mentorship guide, and the guide is broken into two sections. One for the mentee, which would be the participant, and it says that if you've never been into a mentorship role, this is what's expected of you. So you can learn from that. The second half is for the mentor. And oftentimes you may select someone that hasn't done formal mentorship either. And you can provide that second half of the document to them so they can understand more clearly what their role. Mm-hmm. And it's designed to connect between what they experience in the morning from the expert speaker, what they try to apply in the afternoon, and they recognize the challenges they may face, to then go and be able to discuss between meetings with their mentor what's been their experience when it comes to topics like self-awareness, emotional intelligence, etc. And they can then learn from their mentor and help get perspective from their mentor.
Absolutely. It's a full day. It really is. And I have to agree with you. The level of expertise of these speakers has been absolutely incredible. We've been able to make some really great national connections with experts, and we've actually brought a few of them back for some other sessions. That's how much we like them. So some great great leaders there that we've been able to connect with.
Yeah,
So
if I can add one additional thing in, Sarah, just for sort of context, Vistage has, if not the largest, one of the largest speaker bureaus in the country. So there's a little over
wow.
2,000 speakers that we get to select from on a topic. And again, so it's not like there's just one speaker that presents on each of these topics. There's usually 20 or 30 different speakers that we can pull from, again, based on looking at the background of the speaker or a certain angle on that particular topic that's of interest to the group.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say that participants can expect to gain from this program?
Well, the first that comes to mind is growth. I always say if you're a little uncomfortable, that's good. That means you're growing. If we're comfortable, it means we're really sort of in a safe zone, an area that probably is not pushing us to another level of performance or experience. So the first is growth, and that growth is going to be in, to me, sort of two dimensions. One is going to be on the specific topics that we're dealing with. Again, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, strategic planning, business, finance acumen, etc. But then the second then is group dynamics. You know, everyone is at a different point in being able to be comfortable coming into a group, a new group, and be able to interact and participate, right? And kind of bring their best. And that's true in our organizations too. We're asked to be part of different cross-functional teams, etc. We get to work with maybe some of the more senior leaders on a special project. And how do we show up? That's one of the things that we will be working on and practicing during the group meetings. So it's growth. It's helping an organization grow. So it's personal growth that translates into professional growth for the members.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any success stories or stories of growth that you've seen with this program through some participants that you could share?
Yeah, I do have a few, and these aren't things I've quantified. So these are just my own perspective in watching. And you know, the first meeting is a group of 15, 20 plus people coming together and usually meeting for the first time, although they may have some past interaction through the EPIC program. Coming together in this format, they're usually, 15, 20 people from 15, 20 different organizations in the Toledo, Northwest Ohio area. And I get to see how they show up. They get to see how I show up, frankly, but I get to see how they show up. And quite often there's some people that are very outgoing and maybe to a point of an extreme, and they need to temper that behavior back a little bit. And there's other people that are quite often very reserved, I don't know if I'd use the term shy, but they're just very reserved. Quite often they're analytical. And seeing those individuals, and this is a couple members that come to mind right now, is seeing them how at the first meeting, they were very quiet. They participated when called upon, but usually not on their own, initiative. You kind of had to draw it out of them, which is fine. And now seeing them as the program that they're in is starting to wrap up. It's finishing up the 12 different topics that are in the Emerging Leader Program, to see how they're just putting themselves out there and are much more comfortable in interacting in a group session with those group dynamics than they were during the first few meetings.
That's great to hear. And who is this program for? Who's the ideal participant, would you say?
Yeah, the sort of the prototype person for this would be a first-time frontline manager. And what I mean by that is, it's a person that is directing the activities of individual contributors. So it could be a team leader for a project, project team, or it could be a team leader for a customer service team, things like that. Mm-hmm. It's also, so that's I'll say not ideal, but what the program was envisioned to support. It also is very beneficial for high potentials. So you can look at it, am I focused on someone that's already in the role and trying to develop them, or if I'm focused on someone that I'd like to put into a management leadership mm-hmm. role, and I'd like to develop them ahead of asking them to take on those additional responsibilities. So those are the two primary, the high potential employee and the first-time frontline manager.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even from a company side, if you have that high-performing individual, but you don't have the role set for them yet, mm-hmm. maybe there's still some time before that's developed. This would be a great way to really show them that, you appreciate them and help to retain them on that end by giving them and putting them through this training program.
I totally agree with that. And it's with the work I do, I interact with organizations at all levels. So from the CEO, president, vice president, down through, managers and then emerging leader. So I get to see the perspective from different people within the same company. And one of the items that I quite often will run into is more senior leadership has identified a person with potential and a great future for the organization. But for a variety of reasons, they don't communicate that. They don't telegraph that to the individual. So then you go talk to the individual, they're not sure there's a future for them in the company. And it's almost a tragedy, where there's two people that actually could have very productive, supportive sort of relationship, and they just don't understand the two different perspectives. I think this is a great way for companies to communicate to the individuals that we see a lot of potential in you. There's nothing guaranteed going forward, but it does sort of telegraph the past a little bit to say we see potential in you, and that's why we're asking you to be part of the Toledo Chamber Emerging Leader Program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're looking to start a new class in January 2021. So we're going to be talking a lot about this emerging leader program powered by Vistage this fall. But Matt, do you have any suggestions on what someone should do if this does sound like something they'd like to be a part of? Or if maybe they're a company or a manager and they really want to develop that next generation of leaders, what are the next steps in learning and getting involved in this next class?
Yeah, and let me put it in a context in case there's some people that are, the Emerging Leader Program with the Toledo Chamber may be new or they haven't spent a lot of time looking into it. We've been doing this now for 2 years. The first group started in January of 2018. It is now going to be finishing its program in 2020. I'm sorry, January of 2019, finishing it here in December of 2020. So it's a 2-year program. So that's the first group, and they're just about done with the program. Then we started a second group in February of this year. So they're roughly halfway through. So this will be the third group, or the third cohort we'll be creating. And it will be starting in January of 2021. And the best way to learn more about it, a few come to mind. One is visiting time on the Toledo Chamber website and reading more information about the Emerging Leader Program. The second is, and I'll put this on you, Sarah, is to contact Sarah and let her share more about the program. And I'm always happy to spend time either phone or Zoom like we're doing today, or a meeting in person if they're comfortable doing that, to share more about the program and the benefits that it provides. You can also learn more about it on the Vistage website, vistage.com. There's a link across the top of the page on programs, and one of them is Emerging Leaders. So those are a few different resources. The last one I'll throw in, and this may be a little bit harder, it may be something that would fall on you, Sarah, or me, is speaking with someone that's gone through the program. So if you happen to know someone either through the EPIC sort of community that you could connect with, or by reaching out to you, Sarah, or me, and finding the right introduction to speak with someone that is currently participating or will be graduating from the program here in November, to get their firsthand experience. I think that's always a great resource. It's one of the things we emphasize within Vistage is peer perspective, getting the perspective of your peers to move and grow at a faster pace.
Absolutely. And I know that we have many participants who have gone through this program who would be happy to meet up and share their experience with anyone who might want to learn more or hear those stories. So Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We'll make sure to put up information on these sessions that you can expect with the Emerging Leader Program, as well as the contact information and websites. And again, if anyone's interested in this program or has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer questions. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.